Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Shawn Foyer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Inner Blueprint, the podcast for the home improvement space and anyone and everyone looking to think better thoughts to get better results. I'm your co-host, Shawn Foyer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor, here to disrupt some thoughts today. And I'm with the beautiful, the lovely
Kaitlyn Foyer.
Oh.
The best.
I'm going to disrupt thoughts today. What are you going to do, babe?
I'm going to just motivate and inspire people.
Motivate, inspire. That's your
my specialty.
It is your specialty, right? She's my galactic cheerleader, always cheering not only me on, but our children, our clients, our friends.
It brings me the most joy. I think everybody should be celebrated, and I love celebrating people.
I know. It took me some time to get used to being celebrated. Stereotypical cheerleader. I'm like, she can't be this happy all the time. She can't be this positive. I can't wait to see her grumpy in the morning. But
and you have seen that.
I have seen that. But you're still positive, even in your grumpiness. It's like, what the heck?
I know. I'll be like so upset about something, and I'll just throw the positivity in there, like the other side of it.
Yeah.
I just am like, why am I so feeling like this? This is so dumb.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So what should we talk about today? We got an episode with just Kaitlyn and I, and we always love bringing up topics of mindset, either about health and wellness a little bit, finances. Sometimes we talk about the mindset of business process, but what should we talk about today?
My favorite leg of the triangle of our trifecta, relationships.
Oh, you want to talk about sex? You want to talk about sex?
I could talk about sex all day long. We already know that.
Yes, you could. Thank you for the blessing of that in my life. No, but on the relationship side, what are you thinking?
Thinking about how relationships work, not just with yourself, but with others.
Okay.
And leaning in.
Yeah, because we do talk in mindset of the concept of, the relationship leg. And for those of you that don't know, we focus on the power trifecta: better finances, better health and wellness, a better relationship. But we start with relationship with self, because every relationship we have is a mirror at some level. And I think, we kind of want to lean in on relationships today, and lean in is such an important concept when we talk about relationships. First off, maybe leaning in on you, which let's talk about second. But most of us lean in on relationships around us, with our significant other, with the people we work with. And we usually, even if we're not looking for validation, which sometimes we do, we're looking for something back, right? If I send a text to a buddy, I would hope I'd get a text back. If I make a phone call out to somebody, I would hope that they would answer. And if they don't, that they might return my call or my message. But as we find, sometimes that's not the case.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, typically. Not typically, but often, right? And I think our entire human experience is based on connection. Mm-hmm. And so it's hard to connect when you're leaning in and often it just feels like someone else is not, right?
Yeah. And again, that perception is reality, but what is the reality? And it's interesting because, and we've shared on previous episodes, we had Janitha on, and we kind of talked about how we all met at a training organization here in Salt Lake City. And those of you that are local, or even if you want to travel, Impact Trainings in Bluffdale, Utah, has a powerful process to help basically break people free from self-limiting beliefs. I mean, it's very experiential.
Yes.
You do exercises as a group. And we did their ropes course, which is we traveled up to the mountains in Utah, and it's a little physical course that every single obstacle, you're learning something about some aspect of life. We had, the trust fall?
Yeah. Getting up over the wall.
I loved
that one.
I hated that one.
I loved it.
It was snowing. It was cold. And how tall was that? 25 feet maybe?
Yeah.
We had to get everybody over the wall.
And as a cheer coach, I was like, this is what I'm here for.
But some of the people in our group were physically challenged.
Yeah.
And it took literally all of us. And then what do you do with the last few? Because it's too tall for one person. So you had to hang down. It was a physical, but it really taught us that we have to work together to accomplish hard things. What was the one where you were finding the hidden eggs? And oh my gosh, I hated that one.
Oh, I can't
where you were
remember
crawling around your hands. Anyway, the one that I'm thinking about for relationships was literally the lean in exercise. And this episode is about lean in. And basically going from my memory, there was a couple cables,
Two cables.
parallel to each other, about 2 to 3 feet off the ground.
Yep.
And you had an accountability buddy, and you were both to get on that, standing sideways, so each leg's on it, trying to balance, and you can't balance on it.
Not by yourself.
By yourself, so the object was to lean in, and your buddy was to lean in, and once you got balanced, leaning in equally on each other, then you could try and move across it.
Yep.
Sounds pretty simple, right?
It was not. And for me, it was not, because I'm
Physically a different size than a lot of people.
Yes, but that wasn't the hard part. I up until recently was very hyper independent. And if I was going to do something, it was up to me and only me. And so that exercise broke me down into tears, because I was pushing my accountability partner too far away. I was leaning in too hard. I was trying to do too much, and we couldn't get it. And the competitive side of me was just like, it was eating me up, and I was getting so frustrated. And I remember the facilitator at the time was Randy Gates, one of your friends. And he looked at me and he said, "How is this showing up in your life?"
Oh.
And it broke me down into tears. And I was
Because
like,
did you feel like in your personal relationships you were leaning too hard?
yeah, I was pushing too hard. And I've always been a pusher, right? I push people to do things that make them uncomfortable. I push people to do more than they're comfortable doing most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, with you, I do that. With our children, I do that. With our friends, that we do that. And it made me realize, like, wow, I can only lean into the level that somebody else is willing to lean in.
Lean back. And that's a tough pill to swallow, because first of all, you start questioning yourself. Am I leaning too hard?
Yeah.
And you thought that for a long time. You were told you were too much.
And I was pushing too hard, always.
You've never leaned too hard on me, right? Do I always lean back?
Yes.
Yeah. So
you haven't ran away yet.
No, and I'm not planning. Was there any part of you? Because I remember for me, I just wanted to do it alone.
Yes, exactly. I was like, I actually can balance on this cable by myself. Like, I've got this down. I've got it. And I was like, watch me.
And so I don't know if Randy asked you that then, but I'm going to ask you now. How was that showing up in your life? Were you doing a lot of things alone?
Yeah.
You were scurrying across that wire.
Yeah, nonstop.
And if you fell, what would happen? You would like catch yourself. Because I've seen you trip. She doesn't fall, you guys. She defies gravity. She cartwheels out of it, does like a backflip, some crazy shit. But she's very good. And if she leans in and people don't lean back, she just goes on her own. And that was a pattern. And for me, I'd leaned in really hard in a lot of relationships for most of my life and got some pushback, but not what I was looking for. And I found myself for the previous 5 years walking it alone. I decided I was going to walk that rope alone. And some of you listening might be there, right? It can be easier for your heart to choose to walk the path alone, but we're not designed to live alone. We're designed, to be in groups, in packs, in tribes. And if you want to find yours, you got to find people that'll lean back, and it can be a challenging process. I've, over the last decade, lost a lot of people that I love and care about.
Yeah.
God took a few of them, but a lot of them, they didn't want to lean back. And I leaned and leaned and leaned. And then when I stopped leaning, what happens when you stop leaning on somebody who doesn't want to lean back? Yeah. They go away.
Yeah.
They go away. And that can be a challenging. So how do we balance that with the people we love and care about? In our program, I have hundreds of clients that I'm always there for all of them. And I think all of them, if not most of them, know that.
Yes.
But I can't reach out over and over trying to help people.
Nonstop. Yeah. There's not enough hours in the day, unfortunately.
But
fortunately, because that is what we do teach people too, is you have to lean in. You can't just sit back and wait for somebody to grab you and pull you. We empower people to do the work, to lean in, to ask for help when they need it, to reach out when they're going through something. And, our phones are constantly going off. I mean, nonstop. It doesn't matter what day it is, doesn't matter what time often. And I love that. I love that we're empowering people to do that, to lean in, because nothing feels better than when somebody leans into you and you're like, I am ready for this. I've been waiting for this. Like,
my whole life I've been waiting for people to lean in like this. Well, and the cool thing too is a lot of our lean-ins from especially our clients and our friends, they're sharing wins. They're not asking for help. They're saying, hey, this cool thing happened. And, that's the other thing in relationships. Do you ever feel like you don't have anybody to celebrate with? Because I know for me, there was a long time where I was winning by myself and I had nobody to share it with. And it's so cool in our community. We've created a network of powerful people, both men and women, that celebrate the hell out of each other. And no win we always say that no win is too small. A
Yeah.
win is a win, and we're looking for momentum. So
I know I correct people constantly and they say, oh, small win today. I'm like, what was that?
no such thing.
And they're like, okay, win today. I'm like, yes, win today. Just win, not a small win, not a huge, just a win is a win.
Yeah. And when you're going through challenging times, like, I got to the point where waking up and feeling okay was a win, right? The sun came up today. I got a cup of coffee coming here shortly. Like, it's a good day.
Yeah, definitely.
So what advice do we have? If somebody's listening to this, they maybe haven't participated in Inner Blueprint, our mindset program, and they're struggling in relationships around them, right? They might, have some challenges in their marriage. They might have some challenges with the people they work with. They might have their children. I mean, children can be challenging, right?
Because, or, siblings, parents, anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, we have relationships. If you stop and look around, you have relationships with so many people in your life, and some are intentional and some are not.
Yeah.
And some feel better than others and some don't. And you're right. Some people, we have a lot of relationships where we can't tell them our wins, where we can't tell them our struggles, where we have to be a version of ourselves because we've created or allowed that to happen for so long that we can't be genuine, authentic, and vulnerable. And it's hard to lean in when you don't even know who you are because of that version you created for that relationship.
Yeah. I mean, and there is something to be said too. One other thing about leaning in is kind of meeting people where they're at.
Yeah. That's a hard one. But yeah.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Because you might see somebody that you love and care about, and you either have some information or something they need to hear, but if they're not ready to receive it, you tell them that in that moment is pushing too hard, and you're going to push them over and probably push the relationship. So I know for me, it's interesting. I've got, we run several small, powerful groups, smaller masterminds, and one of the groups, there's 8 gentlemen, and 4 of the 8 in our vulnerability exercise at our first retreat said they basically ran for me.
Yeah.
They knew me when I was pretty broken, 2014 to 2016, and they watched me kind of from a distance do this work, really lean into myself first, which we'll talk about more of how you start that process. But I was shining brighter than they thought possible in a really short amount of time, and they were afraid to lean in, right?
And that's, it's so hard when you hear things like that, if you don't have the right mindset to take that personally, right?
Yeah.
But to realize like, oh, that's not, that's not because of, that's not me.
Yeah.
That's something in them that's triggered inside them, right? And when you learn that perspective of it's not always about you,
No.
most of the time it's not.
No.
It changes, right? But I think that is probably both your and I's shared struggle that we have with others is we want to lean in, or we want to get them to lean into our level.
Yes.
And it's hard to lean into their level, to go to that vibration, to get down to, not down
It's not
necessarily,
down, no,
but
yeah.
just get to to meet them where they are.
Where they're comfortable.
Yeah. Sometimes it's such a struggle. It's such a struggle.
Well, and it is a struggle because I always say, the sun doesn't apologize for blinding you. Put sunglasses on, right? But there are instances, and especially as a coach, right? I have to meet whatever client I'm working with one-on-one at the level they're at. And I have to understand that what I'm saying, I've learned through maybe years of experience or maybe some struggle. And if they haven't learned it yet, I'm not going to be the one to teach it to them. So I do adjust my light sometimes, right? I will put on a dimmer if I need to. And that's not talking down to anybody I'm working with. That's just saying, we've got levels of awareness. And if I'm talking at a level that somebody doesn't understand with the power of perspective, I can change it. I use this technique in sales, right? When, the in-home sales reps I work with, when they go into a home, they know more about their product and the challenges the customer is going to have than anybody. But if they come in too powerfully with that, it's going to come across as inauthentic, that they're just trying to scare them into buying from them when it's not the truth. The home improvement industry is filled with a bunch of shady contractors, unlicensed, uninsured, underpriced, not charging the right price. And if I go in as the right price contractor with full belief and I come in too strong too soon, it's just like any relationship. I knock the customer over and they might end up making a bad decision. So it really is a balance.
It is a balance, and it's one that you and I struggle with every single day, right? Sometimes we take things personally that we shouldn't, and sometimes we try to push too hard, and it ends up pushing people out of our lives.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't push enough.
Yeah.
And
that's one thing. I don't ever want to be in a situation where I didn't push enough.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm always ready to push, but I've had to, I guess I will use it and get a little bit vulnerable here. And, I love my 4 adult children more than anything on this planet, but they're also adolescents. They're in their 20s, right? And what happens as we reach 20 years old. And a lot of you parents out there listening have experienced this or are experiencing it. They're trying to find their own way. And as parents, we have to let them. And, I think in the past few years, I've probably pushed too hard because I really want to see them more, to talk to them more, but that might not be what they want at any given time. And so, in the last little bit, I'm still here. I just don't push as much. I don't chase. I'm not looking to start conversations or to always maybe try and spend time with them, not because I don't love them and I'm not ready to, but because I've decided that might be what they need right now.
You have to meet them at their level.
Yeah.
Right. And it's so funny because it was such a blind spot for you that I was able to see. I'm like, Shawn, I think you're trying too much.
Yeah.
Right. Like
I'm chasing something that doesn't want to be chased right now.
Yeah. Like they're hiding. Like you've got to stop seeking. Like they're hiding.
Yeah.
And you just got to you got to let them come out when they're ready. And again, this is why it's so important to have a good relationships in your life for people that can spot those blind spots for you, because Shawn points those out in me all the time. Like, babe, like you're doing too much. Like, stop. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not doing enough. Like, you don't even know. And he's like, yeah, you are. Like, stop.
Yeah.
Stop it.
I mean, I did. And again, I want to be careful because I don't want to break confidentiality. But one of my children, I was having a conversation recently, and he was talking about, that he'd had a conversation with his siblings, and they're all thinking they might want to do something entrepreneurial. And oh my gosh, I mean, I'm a business coach.
Yes, yay.
I'm a mindset coach. I have 20-year-olds that are paid members of our group.
Yes, we do.
I can help my children for free. I'm willing to. I'm ready, but not if they don't want it.
Yep.
Not if they don't want to lean in. So
you got to let them do it their way.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've done a lot of work on my relationship with myself, all the relationships around me, and some of my most challenging are the ones I love and care about the absolute most, more than anything on this planet.
I'd say not one of. I'd say the most challenging.
Yeah.
Are the people closest to us.
Yeah, family, whether it be kids, siblings, parents. That's one thing we found is sometimes our friends are easier to communicate with and to lean in on than our family members. But you think about that, we all grew up in the same homes, we all have the same program paths, we all have the same paradigms. And most of the time in relationships, we don't have a problem. We have a paradigm.
We never have a problem. It's always a paradigm.
Yeah. I mean, our good friend Janitha, me and Kaitlyn were having a little bit of a disagreement. And, Janitha was talking with us about it. And she's like, what's the problem? And there wasn't. It was one of her paradigms. And for those of you that don't know, a paradigm is just a programmed pattern, either belief, experience, something from the past that our mind remembers and tries to keep us safe from. And, us both having gone through a divorce in the past, both had some challenges in early life with, maybe what we felt like was abandonment by one of our birth parents. Yep. We're afraid of that happening to us again. And so when we get to a spot where we're not communicating the way we like to, maybe one of us is in our head about something, it can create what feels like a problem in our relationship. And it's not.
It's not. And it's a paradigm. And I have this paradigm of when I feel like you're stressed out about something or you've got a lot on your plate, I overcompensate.
Or that she needs to fix it or something.
One, that I need to fix it, and two, that I need to overcompensate and make everything else, like I just have to do that much more. And I hate it and I love it when you're like, stop.
Yeah.
I've got this. And I have to remind myself, like, he is a grown, capable man and he has got this. His track record is proven. He's a 100% success record. Like, why am I feeling like I have to solve all these things and fix all these problems and do all these extra things when I just have to be me?
Yes.
And it's so funny because you're the first person that ever pointed that out to me. And it takes that self-reflection to go, I've done that with so many people in my life, and I do it all the time, even when I don't realize I'm doing it.
Yeah. I mean, Kaitlyn had elective surgery here a few weeks ago, and she had to be down.
Ugh.
And we knew going in that she had to be down. And I said I was down board. We've had friends that said they would help. Our, daughters said they would help. And was that a struggle for you?
The hardest thing, the surgery was easy. The downtime was definitely the hardest.
Yeah. And again, I was telling her actually just the other night because I was stressed and it was challenging, right? She does a lot in our family. She does a lot to make sure that the girls are taken care of. She does a lot to support me in the business. And when she's down, she leaves a void. But it's a void that I committed that I would fill, right? I was fine picking up the slack. And, we have teenage daughters. They're amazing teenage daughters, but they're teenage daughters, right? The world revolves around their school, their friends, their cheer.
Yeah.
And if somebody's inconvenience in it, that's not their problem. And it really isn't.
It's not.
You chose to do this. So, I was tired. We have a lot going on professionally. I have my work and I value my time, right? I like to sauna. I like to meditate. I like to do my, affirmation work. And I wasn't able to do everything the way I normally could. Wasn't your problem. But oh my
But
gosh.
it felt like
You
it.
guys, literally, we did get in a disagreement because I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
Get back in bed. No, I don't want you to make me breakfast right now. No, I don't need you to go do some laundry. No, you don't need to go drive when you're not supposed to drive. No.
You can't drive yet. You can't drive yet. I was like, I'm fine.
Yeah. She literally, it was a Friday afternoon where I was exhausted and I said,
oh, that was Friday night. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was in bed and I went up to lay by her for a minute and I took a little power nap. Woke up to a note that she went to pick. I was like, I was supposed to do that. And again, we didn't fight about it, but I just had to remind her, no, wake me up. I was taking a little power
Even
nap.
last night, I'm like up, I'm clean. We had, people over and I was cleaning up everything and you're like, just go sit down. Just go sit down. And I was like, that's so hard for me. But that's true. But that just showed I wasn't leaning into you at all. I was really just trying to do it all myself and then or trying to, there are times where I try to lean in too much and overcompensate, and then there's times where I wasn't leaning in at all or enough.
Yes.
And it was it's tricky. It's tricky.
Well, and I think let's shift a little bit because the difference is, and the reason I'm able to show up powerfully and be okay that I have a lot of extra work and be okay that I might be tired or maybe a little extra amount of stress being put on me is because I'm okay leaning in on me. And that's something that took me over 40 years of my life to really understand the value of, if I have an empty bucket, if I'm not full of self-love, of confidence, if I'm not able to re-energize, re-motivate myself, if I need validation or help from other people with that, I'm not able to serve the people that I'm actually trying to serve. And so, every morning I, still did some sauna work, some meditation work, and I was just working on me. Reminding myself that, gosh, it felt like I wasn't enough. I couldn't be everywhere I needed to be, take the girls where they need to be, show up for my clients, show up for Kaitlyn, and do everything all the time. And so then you get reminded, oh my gosh, you're not doing enough. You're not enough. And I had an old story that I used to tell that I wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I didn't come from the right backgrounds. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't good looking enough. Blah, 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 blah. Not true, not mine. And so right now, if you are challenged in any of your relationships, if you look around and you think about, gosh, I wish me and my wife could communicate better, or I wish I could support my kids better, or I wish I could talk to my kids, or at work, I've got this one person that really challenges me. That's looking in the mirror. That's looking at a reflection of you.
Yeah.
And if you want to improve any of those and you want to lean in and get people to lean back, I think the first step for me, and I had a good 5 years of it before I met Kaitlyn, was just leaning in on me.
Yep.
Some alone time, what are the stories I'm telling myself right now that aren't true, that don't serve me? And, in mindset, and we're doing a 30-day ongoing challenge on social media, 30 days of 15 minutes of good material. Listen to something about the mind. We have lots of episodes out there that talk about mindset. There's good books, Think and Grow Rich, Psycho-Cybernetics, so many good ones. I can't even think of them right now, but
we could just have a whole list,
just Google books on mindset, on the subconscious mind, but 15 minutes of that. And then I do 15 minutes broken into 3 segments, 5 minutes of my goal, thinking about why am I doing all this work? How does it serve me and Kaitlyn and our family? Oh, I have a big goal for my business. I have some fitness goals for myself so I can live to be a happy. 5 minutes on that. And then I do 5 minutes of affirmation work, either I am statements of the person I want to become more of, or even some auto suggest programs of the behavior I need. Do I need to be more disciplined? Do I need to be more active? Do I need to be better with my time management? So 5 minutes of the goal, 5 minutes of the affirmation work. And then my favorite part, 5 minutes of gratitude. And I do 5 minutes of gratitude, what things are already in my life that I appreciate. And I do a little bit of that. What am I attracting that I can be grateful for now? Can I be grateful that I'm going to live to be 100 years old now? Yes, I can be grateful for this happy, healthy body. Can I be grateful for our business getting to the level it's going to be at in 10 years right now? Yep. I actually can. You actually can. And I think that's the most important thing is I want to work on leaning in on my relationships around me, adjusting the control, which as we've talked about is challenging, leaning on you. Know you're enough. Know that you are enough for everything and anything that you've ever wanted. And if you haven't gotten the things, I know right now we do live in a challenging economy for a lot of people. A lot of people want more money to pay the bills, more money just to buy enough groceries. Well, the more to earn the income is the more inside of you. So
Yeah.
lean in on that.
Yeah, and you definitely have to lean in on you, and especially that whole of I'm not enough, and that's where, my paradigm of overcompensating or pushing too hard or, doing too much comes from of I'm not enough, and so I have to prove it in all of these other ways that I'm not enough. And when I stop and again look in the mirror and just go, okay, I got to lean in on me. I got to fill that hole inside me. Realize like I am enough. Just being right, just who I am, how I show up is enough. Even when I don't show up at 100% every day, especially when I was recovering from surgery. That's easy, right? But so hard at the same time.
Yeah.
Because it's easy because all you have to is yourself.
Yeah. You don't have to do anything.
You don't have to do anything. You don't have to rely on
your
another
busy
person.
ass is programmed to do as much as possible in, we always talk about KST, Kaitlyn
real.
Standard Time.
Yeah.
She's going to put 24 hours worth of, and it's not doing for herself usually, it's doing for the people she loves and care about.
Yeah.
And it's more about being who you are than doing anything.
It's like Jack Canfield says, we're human beings, not human doings.
Beings. I'm going to say that again because it's hard for us to hear. You don't get paid even for what you do. You get paid for who you are at any job. It's what energy do you bring to that job? How hard do you work? And not hard in the doing, but hard to be the best version of you. And that's probably one of the most challenging things about mindset is just really coming to that realization that when I show up powerfully as me,
yes,
and the only way I know how to show up powerfully as me is to work on myself every day. Forgiveness, maybe. I know I went through a period of time when I was starting over, especially financially, where I'm like, I don't know how I can rebuild. It took me almost 40 years to build these things that I've lost. This business success, this real estate, and this home that I had, and I'd lost it all. And I kept thinking of what I had to do. And I've had to do a lot less than I would have thought.
Yeah.
The only thing I had to do was focus on who I am. And the more I focused on...
You bypassed that 40 years of growth. You tripled that in a matter of 10.
5 years.
Oh, yeah, 5 years, especially since you've known me.
Yeah, because it took me
really
10 years,
off.
but 5 years, I was wandering around. I was looking for Bob Proctor. I found him. I had Jack Canfield, but I hadn't really leaned in. And the second I leaned in on my mentors, and again, after you've leaned in on yourself, if you can't find good people to lean in on, they could be comrades or friends or coworkers, look for some mentors.
Yep.
I look and the most powerful, and for me, most of them have been men, but the most powerful men in my life have been mentors. And the mentors I found, I haven't had to pay them all.
Yeah.
And some of them have been free mentors. I've
Yeah.
paid some of them. And you want to talk about adding value to your life. Find somebody who's done what you want to do, has done it powerfully. Jack Canfield always, one of his success principles is success leaves clues.
Yeah.
How do you tell if a mentor can help you? For me, we mentor a lot of people now. They get to see our results. We share them very publicly on our group calls. We share them on our social media.
Yeah.
On the trifecta, our finances are in very good order. We make more money than we spend. We're able to invest. We're able to travel. We're able to take care of not only ourselves, but people we love and care about.
Yes.
Our health and wellness. We're both prescription free. We both live in happy, healthy bodies. We both mentally are very strong. We have a lot of good mindset. Our relationships. We have some that we're still challenged with, but not because we haven't tried. And the ones that we do have and the ones we have with ourselves. So if you're looking for good results and you're looking for mentors, it is what we do. Inner Blueprint isn't just a podcast. It's a mindset program. It's designed specifically for the home improvement industry, but with its ripple effect. Right now we're helping hundreds. It's going to thousands. Our goal is to get to millions of people worldwide, removing self-limiting beliefs, the chains that hold us all back, so more people may live their lives in freedom, abundance, fun, and love. And in those areas of the trifecta, we're trying to create all four of those things.
Yes. I don't think we're trying.
We're doing. Yeah. In mindset, there's trying, doing, and
trying
done.
is lying. So we're not trying. We're doing it.
If we decide, power of decision. It's one of the concepts we teach. One of the concepts I practice. Once I make a decision, it's done.
Already done.
It's done. The only thing that's going to change it is if I change my mind.
That's it.
And how do I keep from changing my mind? Say it every day. Say it every day.
Yes. And that's all part of leaning into you.
Yeah. So takeaways. We've talked about lean into yourself powerfully,
Yes.
lean into a mentor, and then lean into the relationships in your life at the level that they're leaning back. And if you find yourself pushing and they're not pushing back, go push somewhere else.
Yeah. There's so many people in this world that care about you.
Yes.
And the ones that don't, you don't have time for that.
Yeah. And again, we don't talk religion, but we do talk spirit. Lean into whatever you believe in as God. When I was all alone and no one was listening, he's always listening. And my belief is the version of me I get to live today is because I'm never alone. I can pray and give thanks in any moment. And I don't ask God for anything. I just pray and give him thanks
Gratitude.
for the tools. You know, I've suffered in the last few years a lot of back, just pains and issues. And the spiritual meaning is like lack of support. And I think it's because I didn't realize how supported I always am.
Yep.
You know, and I didn't even tell you this, babe. This morning, you know, I was leaning on the back of the sauna and just stretching my back and thinking of the aches and pains I've had. And in that moment, I just gave thanks for the love and support that I've always had. It feels so much better energetically, just knowing I don't have to. I mean, I, as you, was programmed as somebody that had to do a lot of lifting. I have to lift people around me. I have to lift the work. I have to lift this. I have to lift that.
And because I can, I should always.
Oh, and that is exhausting. And the more I've just like leaned into as I'm trying to lift.
As you are lifting.
No, as I'm trying.
Okay.
I don't have to try when I realize how loved and supported I am by the people that are around me, by my Heavenly Father, whatever you believe in. It's good stuff. Lean in on you, lean in on a mentor, lean on anybody. And I love leaning on this beautiful woman because every time I lean in hard, she leans back a little bit harder. And we get a balance, pushing on each other, believing in each other, inspiring each other.
Yeah.
And I've become a cheerleader.
That you have.
I have.
You have.
Rah, rah, rah. All right, babe. Great episode. If you liked what we talked about today, do us a favor. It's our only ask. We're leaning in on anyone that will listen. The only lean back we ask for from you is hit the like button, hit the subscribe,
Yes.
and share it.
Please.
Share it. Help us get this message out. You know, we get paid by our business. We get paid for the work we do. We do these videos to share the message. So if you can help us, that's all we ask for. And we give thanks for that now. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the ride.
It's a good one.
Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast. I'm Shawn Foyer, the Universal Mindset Disruptor. With over 20 years of turning blueprints into thriving home improvement businesses, I've learned that the strongest foundations start in your mind. Whether you're building a business or your own success, we're here to reshape how you think and face daily life and always remind you to enjoy the ride.